Every senior I talked to had one regret in common. I spent the last 3 months sitting down with retirees, coffee shop conversations, park bench chats, long phone calls with people I've known for years. I asked them all the same question. If you could go back to age 50, what would you tell yourself? The answers broke my heart. Not because these people are unhappy, but because almost every single one of them said, "I wish I'd known this sooner." Today, I want to share the 7 regrets I heard over and over again, not to depress you, but because maybe you still have time to avoid them. Number 7, not prioritizing health earlier. I sat with Tom, 72, sharp as a tack, but struggling to walk more than a block without stopping to catch his breath. I thought I'd get healthy when I retired, he told me. I'd have all this time to exercise, to eat right. But by the time I retired, the damage was done. My knees were shot. My heart was weak. I'd spent 40 years destroying my body, and I couldn't just fix it overnight. Nearly every retiree I spoke with wished they'd taken health more seriously in their 40s and 50s. Not training for marathons, just walking regularly, eating more intentionally, going to the doctor for preventive care, because retirement is only enjoyable if you have the health to enjoy it. All the money in the world doesn't matter if you can't walk through a museum, play with your grandchildren, or travel to places you've dreamed about. Number 6, underestimating healthcare costs. Patricia had saved diligently nearly $800,000 when she retired at 62. She thought she was set for life. Then her husband had a stroke at 67. Even with Medicare, they were paying thousands out of pocket. Rehabilitation, medications, home modifications. We'd saved so much, and I watched it disappear in just a few years. She told me with tears in her eyes, "I never imagined healthcare would cost this much." The average couple retiring today will spend over $300,000 on healthcare throughout retirement. If you face serious illness or need long-term care, that number can easily double or triple. Most people wished they'd planned specifically for healthcare costs, created a separate healthcare fund, understood Medicare better, considered long-term care insurance while premiums were still affordable. Number 5, waiting too long to travel. Richard put it perfectly. We kept saying we'd travel when we retired, see Europe, visit Asia. But by the time we retired, my wife had arthritis so bad she could barely walk through an airport. I had back problems that made long flights torture. We finally had the time and money, but not the physical ability. The retirees weren't saying you need to travel constantly in your 50s, but don't put off every dream trip until retirement, because travel in your 60s is different than travel in your 70s. The destinations you can handle, the activities you can do, the energy you have, it all changes. Don't defer all joy until retirement. Sprinkle some in along the way. Number 4, not downsizing sooner. Helen, 71, lived alone in a 4-bedroom house where she'd raised her kids. I keep saying I'll downsize next year, but it's overwhelming. All the memories, all the stuff. I should have done this 10 years ago when I still had the energy. Now I'm trapped in a house I can't really afford and can barely maintain. The house that was perfect with teenagers becomes a burden in your 70s. The yard you loved becomes impossible to keep up. The stairs you never thought about become dangerous. People wished they'd downsized in their mid-60s, when they still had energy to sort through belongings, strength to handle a move, and mental clarity to make good decisions. One man told me, downsizing isn't just about saving money. It's about simplifying your life before life forces you to simplify it. Number 3, neglecting relationships. Michael was a successful retired executive who'd climbed the corporate ladder and retired comfortably. But he was lonely. I spent 40 years building my career, worked late nights, traveled constantly, missed birthdays, anniversaries, my kids' events. I told myself I was doing it for my family, but now my kids barely call. My wife and I are like roommates. I have money, but I don't have the relationships I thought I'd have. This was perhaps the most painful regret, because you can't fix it with money. Time with people you love, once it's gone, is gone forever. In retirement, relationships matter more than almost anything else. Your sense of purpose, your daily joy, your reason to get up, it's all tied to connection with other people. One woman told me, "I spent 30 years building wealth. I wish I'd spent that time building friendships." You can't buy companionship at 70. Number 2, retiring too early. This shocked me. I expected everyone to say they wished they'd retired earlier, but the second biggest regret was the opposite: retiring too early without a plan. David retired at 58, burned out and wanting out. The first month was amazing. I slept in, played golf, relaxed. By month 3, I was bored. By month 6, I was depressed. I had no purpose, no structure, no reason to get up in the morning. He tried to go back to work, but at 60, with a 2-year gap, nobody wanted to hire him. He ended up in part-time retail just to have somewhere to go. The regret wasn't retiring early exactly. It was retiring without understanding what retirement would actually feel like, without having hobbies, interests, or purpose ready to fill the void that work had occupied. Work provides more than money. It provides structure, identity, purpose, and social connection. Remove it suddenly, without something to replace those things, and the void can be devastating. Multiple people wished they'd transitioned more, slowly gone part-time, built retirement hobbies before fully leaving work, tested retirement with a sabbatical. One retired teacher told me, retirement isn't a destination. It's a whole new phase of life that requires as much planning and purpose as your career did. Number 1. Not starting to save earlier. The number 1 regret, the one I heard more than any other. Not starting to save earlier. Carol, 68, started saving seriously at 45. She did everything right from that point, maximized her 401k, lived below her means, invested wisely. I wish I'd started at 25 instead of 45. Do you know what a difference those 20 years would have made? I did the math with her. If she'd invested just $200 a month starting at 25, with average market returns, she'd have had an additional $400,000 by retirement, just from starting earlier. But it wasn't even about the money. It was about the freedom that money would have bought. The ability to retire earlier, help her kids more, not worry constantly, be generous with grandchildren. One man told me, I wasted my 20s and 30s thinking I had all the time in the world. If I could tell my 25-year-old self one thing, it would be, start now, even if it's just a little. Start now. The math of compound interest is unforgiving. The earlier you start, the easier it is. The later you start, the harder you work to catch up. This was the regret with the most pain attached, because unlike the others, this one was completely avoidable and entirely within their control. I want to end with something Eleanor told me. She's 76, healthy, happy, financially secure. I wish I'd known that retirement isn't the finish line. It's not the reward for surviving your working years. It's just another chapter of life, and like every chapter, it requires intention, planning, and presence. Then she said, most people sleepwalk through their 40s and 50s, telling themselves they'll really start living when they retire. But you're living right now. This is your life, not a rehearsal. The common thread in all these conversations wasn't really about retirement. It was about presence, about not deferring everything important until someday, about making intentional choices today that your future self will thank you for. If you're not yet retired, you have something precious that all these people wish they had. Time. Time to start saving. Time to prioritize your health. Time to invest in relationships. Time to plan thoughtfully. You don't have to be perfect, but you do need to be intentional. Because here's what I learned. Nobody regrets the things they did to prepare for a good retirement. They only regret the things they didn't do. Your 70-year-old self is out there somewhere in the future. What do you want them to be able to say about the choices you're making today? These 7 regrets aren't inevitable. They're avoidable, but only if you start now, not someday, not next year. Now, your future is being built by the decisions you make today. Make them count.